Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ilian in the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Simon. Simon is from England in the UK. So let's see what Simon has to say. Enjoy the interview. Hello, Simon. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Not too bad, William. Yeah, I went for a run this morning. First this year. I'm a bit of a fair weather runner, so I need to get back into being a little bit more fit and stuff.
Eh,
So yeah.
So tell me, what has been the highlight of your weekend so far?
Um, well, I guess that was good. The sun was sort of out this morning, albeit a bit cold, and just seeing my grandkids yesterday. I had a new granddaughter. She's like was born last week, so that was
Amazing.
she was born on Wednesday.
Oh,
I've got
sweet.
three grandkids, so yeah, I'm kind of hanging out with them yesterday. So yeah, that was the highlight.
What has been the most meaningful lesson you've learned from your grandchildren so far?
Um, I mean the oldest, she's Maya. She's nearly 5, so she'll be 5 sort of June. But I had two boys; they're quite grown up now. Like one will be 30 in a couple of weeks, and 25. So it's nice to have a granddaughter. It's nice to have a girl in the family. I had a brother as well, so yeah, it's good. So that I think that's been good, and it's definitely a different experience being a granddad rather than a dad. So it's nice.
Totally. They say that's the best part of being is much better to be a granddad than a dad because you don't have the pressure on your shoulders. You're ready. You just
Yeah,
bring it ready for you and you just play with them and they take it back. You know.
exactly. Yeah. The grandson's a bit of a handful, so that's good.
And where are you from, Simon?
So I live in Sussex, West Sussex, Haywards Heath, which is sort of in between Gatwick Airport and Brighton.
Okay.
Initially, I'm from London, well, Croydon, which is South London. I grew up in Coulsdon, which is a bit further. I don't know if you know London particularly well. It's just on the border of Greater London and Surrey, kind of thing. So, yeah, that kind of thing. I was born in 1972, so back when I was growing up, Coulsdon was kind of considered to be quite rural. Like many
Okay.
would call it, like out in the sticks, like Londoners would call it. So it was quite rural. It's like everything. It's kind of got swallowed up into like Greater London and stuff over the years.
Wow. And what was the biggest joy for you in growing up in London, this big area at the time?
I don't really remember too much. I mean, literally, I mean, really Coulsdon was more like a village and it was more like Surrey. So I never really saw it as growing up in London.
I see.
Uh, I certainly have lived in Croydon and West Croydon, places like that. So, and I've always loved London. Certain parts, of course, are better than others, but I love Camden, and around sort of like places like Soho and Charing Cross Road and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So I've always, since a teenager, sort of gone up to the West End and
Wow.
loved it, and still love doing it. There's so much life up there. So yeah, it was good. And Croydon was a good place to sort of let's say go to or hang out in the 80s 90s.
Right.
It's not so nice now. It's one of the not particularly nice parts of London, but you know
I see. And what do you do for work for living, Simon?
so my main job is a sales rep. So I've sort of worked on the road since I was 25, so literally 30 years, pretty much. And So I sell greeting cards.
Okay.
There is still a demand for that, believe it or not, in certain companies. I mean, it is a little bit of a struggle with shops shutting down, but so I call on things like garden centres and the few card shops that are remaining and stuff. So that's my main job. I do, like a lot of people, I have like side hustles. I do a little bit of acting and stuff.
Wow.
just small part acting, and I initially got into that in the sort of late 90s, round about the time that I became a dad, and then there was a little bit of a gap because of that, I guess. And I sort of got back into it about 2015, and I've done so in the last 10 years, done loads of stuff. Like, must be about, probably been in about, I don't know, 70 to 80 things.
Wow.
Yeah. Just, I mean, most of it, some of it has been man standing in crowd.
Yeah.
But it's a real diverse stuff. I mean, even the last, I went 4 months without doing any job. I had a bit of a break. And in the last month, I've done five.
Oh, wow.
And really diverse, from playing the Grim Reaper in a short horror movie, to being an interviewer in like a comedy thing, to a police officer, to just a man standing outside a pub as a proper extra thing. So, yeah, it's just fun. You build up contacts. Lots of people make films, so I would say anyone out there, if you want to be in a film, it's very easy to do, because there's so many low budget films. Some pay, some don't. But it's just a hobby, and you know, I like doing it, but it's nice to be picky in a way, because I feel like this year I want to try and do a little bit more holistic things, like walks and runs and sitting down and things like that, rather than, you know, being in films and things like that. It's still work to a degree, you know.
Totally. No, I get your point. I've done actually in the past as well some extra job, and I get your point. I think it's amazing to be involved in the movie industry. You know, to see those big cameras, to see the scenarios, to see the acting, to see the whole thing. It's hard work. You see,
Yeah,
so many hours they put together to get a little scene or to do, you know, something, and it's amazing to see. It's a joy, even though you're not like in the main leading role, but however, to see them acting, to see everything happening, it's a great place. I think it's amazing to feel the energy, for sure.
yeah. Is it something you do again?
Absolutely,
Oh, good,
absolutely. You
good.
know, I have my 9 to 5 job. I have the Magic Box, which take most of my time.
Yeah.
However, of course, absolutely, I'm always open for opportunities. I think those, you know, it's amazing to be open minded and to have those opportunities.
Exactly.
You know, you never know. I
Yeah.
remember once I did one of the last one that I remember I did was I don't remember, the series was for HBO, was in London, and I did a series. I did this, you know, I wasn't saying anything, but I was literally by the main leading role actress, and she was talking to the camera, and she was literally by my side, and she talked to me like through the scene as well. But I didn't. I just said hello or something like that. I don't remember. But it's just, and I saw like, and actually I did another one as well in the airport, in Stansted Airport. In 2000, I think 2020, sorry, during the COVID, and suddenly,
Yeah.
one day, like last year, the year before, I received some message on my on my Facebook. Some people, they saw me on the Netflix. It was a documentary about, you know, about this policeman, and I was playing a Spanish policeman. I had the whole uniform in Stansted
Yeah.
Airport. And they saw me, and they said, "Oh my God, Will, is this you? I just saw this documentary." I've
Wow,
done
that's
for
good.
so many years ago, you know, and of course, sometimes it takes time for them to release, you know, there's a lot of bureaucracy. But
Yeah.
yes, there's always
Oh,
something.
cool.
It's amazing to be involved in the movie industry. I think it's amazing to see the magic happening, because I love movies as well. So I love to see a little bit.
Exactly, and I think you know, one thing you've got to have, and I mean, you've obviously definitely got it, is passion, and if you've got that, then you know, then you'll do all right.
Amazing. Very good. Okay, Simon. So during the interview, I'm going to explore a bit more about your life and also about your journey. Okay?
Yeah, cool.
Are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through many?
Yeah, sure, ready.
Yeah, amazing. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So I have here a best friend. Full of random fun questions. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to play a song just first to relax before the first question, okay?
Cool.
Let's do. Okay, so before starting the interview, during the join, if it comes up a question that you don't want to talk about or you don't want to answer, always can change, okay? Amazing.
Cool.
First question is, what's your idea of a perfect friendship?
Ooh. I've got a few close friends that I've had since I was small, and I still keep in contact with them. I just think it's someone that's, I wouldn't even necessarily say always there for you. It's just someone you feel really comfortable with. Someone that you can say your problems to, and you can have a laugh as well. I think it's that balance of just getting you and understanding you. I'd say that.
So tell me a friend that when you're feeling the lowest for some reason, you're not feeling very well, you just feel like talking to somebody, which friend comes to your mind? At the same time as well, the same friend, when you're feeling the greatest, you're feeling happy, you feel, oh my God, I need to share this news. So tell me which person comes to your mind for both occasions.
Oh dear. I mean, probably two close friends are Simon and James. I mean, I've got a lot of friends, and acquaintances and things like that. But yeah, I'd say they come, quite high to mind. Other people like Mark and Peter. So yeah, I've got quite a few ones, and I wouldn't say there's necessarily and some of them are different, and you can have different experiences with friends. Like when you go out for the day and you're chatting, sometimes it will be a different chat with one friend to another. But I wouldn't say I've got a sort of, oh, I'm feeling down, I need to burden this person, or I'm feeling happy, I need to be with that person. I think a good friend hopefully has all that in. It's like I'd say that I'm a pretty good talker and listener, and I like my friends to be good listeners. I think that's really important. We all know people that when they talk, they're not listening to what the other person's saying, and they're thinking of the next thing to say. I love people that are great listeners, and I love to hear people's stories, and I'm interested in people and how they're doing, and I liked your idea about saying everybody. Well, most people have an interesting story and an interesting life.
Everyone.
I read a lot of biographies. I'm into films and stuff like that, but I love reading about what I would call less famous actors and people like that. Just people that have been in films, but they're not necessarily huge stars, because I find sometimes their life interests me more, because they've had the struggles, they've had the, by and large, they're just general people that have led an interesting life.
Totally. So, okay, so those friends that you mentioned right now, they're watching this interview, and you have a moment, an opportunity to send them a message. What would you say? They're watching.
I'd just say, thanks for your support and your friendship and loyalty, and I love you guys.
Oh,
that.
amazing. I think friends that, you don't go around saying, oh, you're going to be my best friend, I'm going to choose you to be my best friend. It doesn't work like that. It's like a relationship. When it clicks, that's it. You know what I mean? And sometimes you don't need to see very often. You don't need to be in contact every day. However, when, you meet again for some reason, or you catch up, and suddenly everything comes back. And I think it's amazing. It's real friendship for sure.
Absolutely. Amazing. Yeah.
Next question. Let's do it. Simon from England. Next question. What are the top 3 things on your bucket list?
Oh, wow. That's these are hard bucket lists. Oh dear. I mean, I would like to do a book. I mean, I've done things like booklets and stuff like that. I would quite like to write kind of like a life story memoir thing, which I think everybody should do. It's
Totally.
hard to get started. So I want to do that. I mean, certainly going way back, I, I always thought I'd love to be in a film and things like that. And I just thought I'd be the person in the background and I'd be in about 3 films. But to have had I've probably had my name in about 40, 50 things. I've had my name on posters. And I mean, this is someone who's, I've never had any, I've never really had any money. I've never gone and trained or anything. I've just done it in a way off my own back and sort of, so bucket lists, there are hard. I'd like to go and travel more.
Hmm.
I need to, I, I have, a sort of fear of flying, and I've had that through most of my adult life. Um, and I have gone abroad quite a lot. All these kind of weird journeys by train, and so I have flown quite a few times. The last time I flew was 2011, which was 15 years ago. Um,
Oh,
I have, but oddly enough, I've flown through every decade um, apart from the 20s of my life because I've flown 79, 80s, 90s, thousands, tens, obviously 2011. So for someone who's and I've had the fear since 1993. No reason, it just happened like a light switch. I am a little bit better. I mean, I'm able to talk about it with you. Go back 10 years ago, I would start to my get breathless, and I would. I'm talking about a proper big phobia. Um,
wow.
I, I mean, it's one of those things. What I have to do is to plan myself to. Do I need to get over it, or do I need to just get on with it? There
Right.
are places in the world I would like to see, some film locations, like the Lighthouse in the Fog. I love my horror movies. I love locations. I'd like to. I mean, my wife's from St. Lucia. I've never been to St. Lucia. So I think a bucket list would be to travel more and travel to. So I will have to get my backside back on a plane. Um, I've said 2 things: do a book, travel more. Third thing, it's very difficult to say bucket list. I mean, you obviously want to be, you want to have healthy, and you want to be healthy and have time. I'm
Hmm.
not sure of anything else. I can't think of a third thing, and I've obviously I've done a
Okay.
lot of stuff,
Okay.
and I wouldn't say I'm. It's not that I'm not ambitious. I think maybe to say actually to retire or go part time when I want to.
Right.
We're all dictated by money. There are many things I could do and want to do if time is the most important thing. I think health and money are important. Time is the most important.
Okay.
So yes, I think a bucket list would also be to think, right, okay, I've paid off my mortgage or most of it. I can now work part time
Right.
to be able to do more things. So that's kind of I guess, a wish. So yeah,
Okay.
that's 3.
I like that. And as you mentioned about your memoir, that one day you want to put all together your life story. What would be the title of it?
Oh dear. That's a good question. I don't know. You want to put something like like even like an interesting life, and it's because I guess I have had one. Unlike most people, I've had a, bits of tragedy, bits of sadness
Yeah, all of
in my
us.
family and stuff, and I mean, the main one, I lost. My mum passed away when I was 14, which is not a great. I
Hmm.
lost a sister as well, and things like that. So I've had stuff, and we've all got issues, and we've all got things and stuff. But I would like to think I've always got an interesting mind. I mean, there's great bits of philosophy. There's one is, if I think if you're always curious, you'll never be bored.
Totally.
And if you limit your interest, you limit your life.
Yeah.
You know, I love loads. Both of those are actually by Vincent Price, actually, the horror actor who voiced Thriller. But there are loads of. I mean, I kind of created my own kind of like little quote and stuff like that. But yeah, I think. I'm trying to even think of what the question is because I've gone off on a tangent.
The title of your
On my
memoir.
maybe just an interesting life. I mean, like a lot of people, I feel to a degree most of us are dealt a hand of a set of cards, and you know. They've not always been great. I've always done the best out of them, but always mindful of it could have been worse. And yeah, and that's that. And I'm always very aware of other people. I'm very aware of, and I don't like injustices. I find it sad that some people in life struggle and some don't, in whatever way that might be, whether that is mentally, physically, financially. Yeah, I find, for me, an ideal world, we'd all be sort of on a level playing field, and it's tough that it's not that for people, and some have to work harder than others, which is, I guess, it's good for the people, but you know,
I'll take that. And in life.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Next question. Let's
For an ordinary guy. I love the dancing.
Right, before the next question, you mentioned a few times that you are fascinated about horror movies, yeah? So tell me why this connection with horror movies?
Oh dear. I mean, it's weird because I would like to think I'm quite a gentle person. I don't particularly like I don't even particularly like blood. So where this came from, I would say that a lot of the horror, I particularly started liking a lot of what I would call older horror movies, like Hammer horror movies and stuff like that. I quite like a lot of the slasher movies of the early 80s. I quite like some of the films that are less real. They're a little bit jokey, whether they're jokey, camp, whatever, just a bit of fun. As soon as something starts getting very real, I wouldn't say I'm a fan of it. There are a couple of examples. You can get some films that are a little bit like that, like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre or things like that.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite horror movie ever.
It's probably one of the best. It's a great film.
Yeah.
It's not an easy watch, but it's so well done. It's brilliant.
100%.
Yeah, and I like, you know, so it's quite a big kind of genre, and I like all types of it. Where did it start? I have no idea. I mean, early memories, I can remember sometimes being at school and always being fascinated with, like, there was a series of books called Tim and the Hidden People, and I can remember being about 8 and films coming on in the evening. I particularly remember a series called Hammer House of Horror, which is a wonderful series, not Hammer films, but a TV series made in 1980. And I think when it was shown second time, I can remember sitting with my dad on the steps and we were just looking up at the stars and things like that. And I was so looking forward to this series, and I was allowed to be let up late. I'd watch the double bills, a lot of black and white movies, a lot of Hammer films. And then, of course, I was the age of the golden, what I would say golden age of, I turned 10 about 1982. So back then you had like old video rental shops, and you'd go and you'd you know, my dad would rent me, so there would be these that you'd look on the shelf and be My Bloody Valentine and things, and we'd talk at school. And I always I just always loved horror films. I love all other kinds of films, comedy films, a lot, and stuff like that. But I've just always loved them. And it's kind of strange that even from, I mean, I know a few people, like, even from about 10 to like 54, it's never dulled. It's still the same, love for it.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question is, what's the best gift ever received and why you consider that?
Best gift I've ever received.
Yeah, why you consider that?
Oh dear. I don't know. I've been given so many things, and it's difficult to try and think.
It doesn't need to be material, could be more sentimental as well, could be anything.
Yeah, exactly. No, 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 and sentimental things. There's a friend of mine called Rob who he writes stories and stuff like that, and he and I know him well. I wouldn't say he's necessarily my closest mate, but I do know him really well, and I got to know him over the years and stuff. And he written stories, and his kids are in. It's about this sort of he's got this kind of almost like Wild West kind of thing built at the bottom of his garden. He's self-built this jail and things like that, and he's written about the story of this community and stuff like that, and he put me in some of the stories, and I was really taken back by that. It's almost like it's like, wow, you chose to put me in a story, which I thought was really sweet,
Okay.
I thought that was a very personal thing to do without asking someone to do it, so that surprised me, and that can come to that sort of something, I guess, that comes to mind.
Amazing. Very good. The questions left. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Do you like dancing, Simon?
Do I like dancing? Yeah, I would say so. I would describe myself as I'm like quietly confident. I think as a kid, I was a lot shyer. In more recent, I say recent years, last 10 years or so, I like sing at karaoke. I'm not particularly good at it, but yeah, funny enough, we went to in our local village. They had like a country evening, and
Mhm.
I went with my wife, and we were just dancing. So I was doing a bit of line dancing and stuff like that
Amazing.
last night, and doing a few heel kind of taps. And oddly enough, this older lady came up to me and almost just sort of said, "Oh, you're quite good. Are you kind of like
Oh,
professional? You've got some moves." And I just sort of, I was quite complimented by that. I was like, "Well, that's news to me," but I was like, "No, I haven't. I just,
I see.
yeah. So yeah, no, I do.
Dancing,
I do like to
dance is
dance.
just about to express yourself. There's no rules. Dance is about you listen to the music, close
Yeah,
your eyes, and connect to the song. I think that's what's about dancing. That's
exactly.
yeah,
No, I mean, I've got a wide taste in music, and I quite like a lot of like euphoric trance music, happy trance music, particularly not
yeah.
not bang 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 hard trance. They're kind of a bit more melodic.
I see.
But I like sort of pop and rock and stuff like that, and I can appreciate all kinds of music. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. Dancing is I've got to like the song
Totally.
sometimes. Sometimes you got to love the song
Absolutely.
or the vibe or the feel. So yeah. It's like you said, it's a bit of fun. No one really looks
Totally.
at someone,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Next question is, who is your biggest hero?
Oh wow. Um, that's a kind of that's a really hard question. I mean, I don't know if I have a biggest hero. Uh,
Tell me someone who you always be inspired by for some reason.
I mean, the thing with me is I love so many different types of things and genres and musicians and people that I get inspired all the time by people. I mean, uh I love, probably going back in, I guess people like maybe Laurel and Hardy, particularly Oliver Hardy. In film world, probably people like Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, I like people that are stylish, even if they're stylish in being a bit flamboyant, like anybody like Oscar Wilde or people like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, but and there's been some great people in my family, my dad, my uncle, and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know if there's necessarily a top one, but yeah, I think any sometimes any musician and stuff that has their own style and their own look, and they're just comfortable in how they appear and
Yeah,
stuff. And obvious would be someone like David Bowie or someone like that. But just any even modern artists that are sort of comfortable in that I'm inspired by. Yeah.
great. What's the biggest joy of being Simon? What do you like the most about being you?
This like everything. There's sometimes you just sometimes you love it, sometimes you don't like it. There's other days where you think, I just wish I was a more what I would say normal guy that would just sort of sit on the sofa, watch the telly, watch football. I do like for my football. Um, I've always been a bit quirky. I guess I like that about myself, that I'm always interested in things. I mean, someone said the other day, I'd heard that they were talking about me, and they said I almost have like a childlike, which I took as a compliment, look on life or enthusiasm, which I kind of am sometimes, like a boy in a sweet shop. I mean, I grew up loving my favorite cartoon character was from years ago. It was a series called Mr. Ben, and it's quite a cult kind of British thing, early 70s, but it's a wonderful a story, really about this guy that goes into a costume shop. He picks a
Yeah,
costume and he goes through the door and has an adventure. And I think I was obviously quite influenced by that, because that's kind of in a way how I kind of live my life like that. I love to try new things. I love to I've got that excitement that I want to always try different things. I guess that's one thing I love about myself, that I have that little bit of passion.
two questions left. Let's do
Yeah.
it. Okay, next question is, what is the most difficult thing have you ever done?
Most difficult thing I've ever done. um I guess we do difficult things all the time. I would say I am a person that doesn't hugely like living outside of their comfort zone. And Yeah, I've done things like, I think when I was a kid, I can remember I've always been afraid of heights, and I can remember climbing up an abseiling wall, and I got like a little certificate of well done for doing that. Um, I guess when I think the last time I sort of didn't want to, I thought, oh, I don't want to fly. Um, well, wife had paid for a holiday. I had two young kids, and I thought, no, I'm going to do it. So regardless, I'm going to do it, and I did. So yeah, and I guess even in work, there's things all the time where sometimes you've I'd left the company before, and I didn't get on with someone or some people there, and I have gone back there and made a success of it. Sometimes that
Wow.
was a bit difficult at first to sort of, get over that. Or sometimes if we've all gone for a job and you thought it was right for you, or a little bit more, and you've realized straight away it's not your thing, it's not good. Sometimes to realize that and leave can be either empowering, but there's also a feeling of sometimes like a little bit of a failure. So yeah, those kind of things. Yeah.
Last question, ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Last one. Okay, Simon, before the next question, as you mentioned before that you've been in so many projects in the movie industry, tell
Yeah.
me one moment, one situation that for you so far you're gonna hold close to your heart. Could be anything that when you look back, you go like, "Oh my God, I will always remember this moment."
In a film or just
Yeah,
anything?
in a film, one of those those moments that you've been working in the movie industry.
I mean, outside of, I met my favorite actor, Peter Cushing, and I met him in 1991 in Whitstable. He was in Star Wars. He was in a lot of Hammer horror films. That was wonderful. And in acting, that I guess that there's been a couple of films where I've worked on the set of like a film location. There was a film I liked, an old horror movie, a couple of old horror films where this house was used, this creepy house, and I've worked on that location. One was an overnight one. That was one of the first ones I did. And sometimes with actors that I've not necessarily worked with any huge actors, but some, I've worked with some. There were a couple of actors I was working with that were in Hammer horror films. One was John Carson, not necessarily a household name, but he's got like 200 credits. And I was working with him, and I was sort of feeding him lines, and I'm terrible with lines. I'm really, really bad. What I like to say to people, I'm good at embodying a character. If I put on an outfit, I can be that character. I've not always been able to do that, but I now can. And I've wanted to embody, I've wanted to sort of sharpen up small parts. So rather than go for bigger things, I'd like to perfect smaller. And I've had things where you see there's about 8 or 9 lines, and I'm like, I'm just terrible at learning lines. Um, but I've got through some of them, and there's been some grueling stuff I've done where it's been sort of like a day on set, and it's not been that pleasant, particularly. But yeah, I would say it's in terms of happiness. Yeah, there's been a couple of films I did early on where I acted with a few well-known people, and that was good. When you, let's say, if you've grown up watching um, these people in films, and then all of a sudden you're sort of working with them, is kind of
Incredible.
strange, So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
amazing. Last question is, tough question. If you had only 24 hours of life, what would you do?
Oh dear. Oh, um, I'd be the type of person to solve it, like thinking, "Oh God, what?" And then you realise, "Oh, I've only got an hour left." I've spent all the time umming and ahhing, which is typical me. Um, I guess you'd want to be around your kids and your grandkids. I
Yeah,
think would be the obvious thing that came to mind. I mean, there are certain places in England and stuff like that I love. I mean, it's my probably. I mean, they're completely diverse, but probably my favourite place is a little fishing village in Cornwall called Polperro, which is very quaint and pretty and tranquil. But yeah, I love Camden and Soho and Charing Cross Road and stuff like that, which just shows you how. I mean, you couldn't get two diverse kind of places. So I love that tranquility of the sea, lighthouses, and things like that, and calm. But I also love the bustle as well. And it's interesting that if I had 24 hours, what would I choose? I think out of the two, I choose calm and tranquility. I think
wow.
you'd want to, if you're preparing yourself for that, I think being around loads of people, I think I would rather just, yeah, be in somewhere. calm and beautiful and peaceful, and see your close family members. If you could do those two things, that's what I do in 24 hours.
Amazing, beautiful. Right, audience, yet, let's play now the word association game, okay? I'm going to say some words, just one word that comes to your mind, okay? Quick thinking. Let's start with money.
Okay, so I just say a word or what I think about money?
Yeah, when I say one word, you just say one word that comes to your mind, relate to this one I just said, okay?
Okay,
like
cool.
Like a word association game, okay? Let's start it again. Right, so one
money.
word for money.
Necessary.
Fear.
Unpleasant.
Family.
Important.
Life.
To cherish.
Love.
Warming.
Religion.
I'll try and be quick. Good. I think it's a good thing fundamentally.
Sex.
Good. Great.
Politics.
Annoying.
Friendship.
Important.
Desire.
Important.
Regret.
Inevitable.
Success.
Pleasant. To be successful. Wish.
Yeah.
Hope.
One word for happiness.
Ease. At ease.
One word for England.
Love.
One word for horror movies.
Interesting.
In the last one now, one word for acting.
Expressive.
Amazing. Let's pretend now I'm going to meet your wife for a coffee and I'm going to ask her, define Simon in one positive and one negative word only. What should say about you?
Positive. It has to be one word.
One word.
Easygoing or fun.
Okay. And negative?
You have to think your thoughts now. Indecisive, maybe.
Good point. Let's play now Simon and the Magic Box, and you can ask me a question. Hey, Simon, you can ask me a question now.
Ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay. One or two?
One question.
One question. So I was gonna say, do you believe in ghosts? But I'm gonna ask something else. What do you do to not overcome your fears if you're feeling down or you're not so positive? What's your remedy or to sort of get yourself out of a situation? Let's say a mood.
I love your question, and I'm gonna answer the first one about the ghost. Yeah. I literally, I believe, like, if you put as a ghost, as we see in a movie, I don't believe it. However, I believe that there is something that can connect with us. There's something, maybe, a presence or something that sometimes you cannot explain, or it's a higher power, something that somehow it's around us. So I do believe that.
Yeah.
That's for sure. There is something there.
Yeah.
And the second question, I love your question. And when I find myself in situations where I'm not feeling great, or maybe I'm not feeling the best, or we have those moments. They are necessary, they are powerful, and we cannot avoid them. The older I get, Simon, what I do is, first, I feel grateful about that feeling, because for some reason, I'm going to learn something out of it. It's going to make me a different person. Maybe I don't see the message straight away. However, maybe sometimes it's going to take time for me to see this message. But after this moment of gratitude, I just feel like, okay, I cannot run away of it. I just take it how it comes. I try to, to be with it, to be friendly with this moment. Yeah. I try not to avoid or to push away because it's gonna make worse. So I think
Mhm.
it's to accept the feeling. First accept it. I said, okay, I cannot avoid it. It's already here. I'm feeling it. I'm happy. It's happening now. You know, I don't. If I need to cry, I will cry. If I need to talk to someone, I will talk. If I need to be in silence, I will be. But at the same time as well, I always keep thinking in my mind. It's not gonna be forever. It's gonna be just for a moment. Take it, learn it, accept it. I think that's the main thing. Accept the feeling.
Yeah,
Accept it. It's just the best way to do
that's
it.
very powerful. It's the kind of thing a coach would say.
Yeah,
Very good. Yeah,
yeah, and after that, I just, and when I'm sad, when I look back, I had so many times that I was sad and I felt like, oh my God, it's gonna be like that forever. But actually, no, everything passed, everything, it changed. So yeah, back to
yeah.
your question, I would just appreciate the moment, I would feel it, and I would accept it. And I think that's the best, that's the way nowadays I deal with those moments when it hits us, for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's a good answer. Very good answer.
amazing.
Yeah, cool.
Did you enjoy the interview?
I loved it. I mean, yeah, it's I was no, I wasn't even trepidatious about it. I've been interviewed on radio before, and yeah,
Oh,
I feel I could chat another 2 hours to you. It was good, and it's a good experience, and I loved it.
thanks so
Yeah.
much, Simon. Thanks for taking the time for the interview. Also, thanks for bringing this energy. I love your passion about, your movie, about your life overall. You appreciate life. I can see how much you appreciate, life overall, and I think it's amazing. That's the way to be. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you to
Oh,
be able
thank you.
to join me in the interview.
And where are you? Where are you? Obviously, you're from London. Where are you from
So
originally?
from Brazil, but I live in London. Yeah.
And when did you move to London?
Oh, it's been most 2007. So it's been almost 20 years that I've been
20
in London.
years, and you love London?
London is home for me now. I love London. I love being here.
Good. You go back
Yeah.
home every now and again, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm going every year so to see my roots, my family. But yeah, London is home for
love
me now.
London. Well, that's good. That's good to know.
Amazing.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Thanks,
We got
William.
your family, to your grandchildren, and we keep in
Yeah.
touch. Okay, it was a
Yeah,
pleasure.
I will. Wonderful. Have a
Take
good
care.
day. See you,
Bye.
mate. Bye.
So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, to share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why would you like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye bye, see you next time.